After the left tried to cancel Tony Hinchcliffe, he made a strong comeback alongside Bill Maher to push back. Let's dive in.
Because you're a Trumper, I'm sure most of the comics are not. Do they treat you differently? Are you in any way ostracized because of that?
So here's what happened is I moved to Texas during the pandemic when they triple closed everything in California. And there was no indoor shows, and I went and did a show outdoors at the Magic Castle performing to people in cars where the cars had to be 6 feet apart from one another. I swear to fucking God.
The cars are going to give it to each other?
Swear to fucking
man,
God.
That was a terrible disease.
Oh, Bill. And they gave people these clapper things, these little New Year's Eve noisemaker shaky things.
I thought you honk your horn when you like it.
Why is Tony about to laugh? It's funny because I feel the same. Like I'm about to laugh too. There's this attitude where some people wear hardship like a badge of honor. Oh, absolutely, they'll say. During COVID, things were tough because I had to film from home, and I think I did a decent job with the laugh track and all. And I'm just sitting there wanting to giggle.
I'm surprised they actually didn't think of that. But they gave people these noisemakers, and they would hold them out their windows, and it would go clack, 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 clack,
Your
clack.
car has a noisemaker built into it that sounds like a horn. It's called the horn.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But even still, I mean, funny, for 6 months, when the horrible forever flu happened, I did the monologue right over there.
Yeah.
We had, this room was all, the pool table was gone, everything. This was the studio where I did that. Then I did the editorial out there sitting on the lawn. I mean, we did the show here for 6 months. You know, some ways it made you more creative, but it was to do a monologue here. I wanted to keep the show as close to what it really was. I put on a suit and tie like I always had, and we had funny, you know, cutaways to old audiences laughing, which was, people loved that bit. And we had a laugh track. You know, I would do the joke here, and then they would play, and I got through it. But I used to just walk out of after that taping, and of course I live, you know, next door, so
Thinking, how elitist does he sound right now? They act like going through COVID was some shared trauma. But for regular people, those who aren't wealthy, Bill, life was genuinely hard. The government shut everything down over something that, in hindsight, seems so minor thanks to these 3-letter agencies. It's just hilarious to hear people like you talk about it like it was a war zone, when for most, it was real struggle, not just inconvenience.
like, I was so depressed. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like, because usually after the show, there's a little party and blah, blah, and then I was just like in the silence of my house. And oh yes, we can't go out. And it was just like, and look, there are diseases in the world that I think might merit that are that dangerous. I just never thought it was that one.
Exactly. 100% with you. So not only was I doing these stupid outdoor shows, but just like you were saying, I'm the only person I think that I know that has a weekly live show in front of a live audience for 12 years, every single week.
Right.
So what we had to do, because I do a show where I pull a comedian's name out of the bucket, they do a minute of stand-up, and then I interview them.
I see it.
So we ended up, you want to talk about fucking depressing. We ended up having people send in their minute sets. They're in their living room trying to do stand-up comedy. We had no laugh track, no recorded audience sound. So we're watching people do their sets, and then we would Zoom with them for the interview part. So how's it going? Well, not much of anything happening. Just been in my house playing video. Every interview was the same.
I need to say something here. It's hilarious how Bill Maher suggests Hillary could have won if Democrats themselves weren't the problem. Are you serious? Is this a joke? The DNC hasn't changed. It's Democrats who made the DNC what it is. Most Democrats Bill's age, maybe even Tony's, think exactly like him. Hillary didn't lose because of voters. She lost because the DNC forced her on people. It was too much to expect a female president at that time. That's how out of touch their pick was. Now they're rallying behind Pete Buttigieg for 2028, a gay man with an adopted child. Look, nothing against him personally, but putting forward candidates like that is extremely progressive for many Americans. It's just too far ahead of where a big part of the country still is mentally.
To make fun of far-left woke nonsense because it's so anti-common sense, and that's what comedians do.
Exactly.
And when people laugh, it's involuntary, and they know it must be true. And so they, of course, they hated me for doing that because I exposed their nonsense. But I always made it clear I'm not on the other team. In fact, I would go for their woke nonsense over Trump because he is such a threat to much more fundamental things. I mean, even if he wasn't anti-democratic, which he most certainly is, just the level of corruption in this administration, the way they're just selling it off left and right, meme coins, and the ways that he has invented to bribe him. Tariffs, perfect example. You know, you have tariffs on everything, and then you lift them on people who just maybe voted for you or support. I mean, it's insane. The kids are opening golf resorts all over the world.
This is politics. I don't understand how people don't get it. You're a Republican. You win the presidency, and corporations who backed you financially expect favors in return. Why? Because they're betting on the next president too. Someone who shares your ideology.
Everything was the same for 6, 8, whatever months during this thing. We had no live audiences whatsoever, especially when you're used to that every single week, like I'm sure you were. It's just, you go through the craziest withdrawals. So when I went and visited Texas, and they fucking have them indoors, and the place is packed, and there's no separation. I'm like, what the hell? And I
had the same experience going to Florida.
Yeah.
The first set I did when they let us, and it was like, oh my God, this is. I remember what freedom felt like.
Exactly. And the day, I joke you not, and this is the thing, because I would argue that we're more center than left or right. I think you'd probably be shocked to know how at least from my perception, centrist we are. I've been watching you for my whole life, by the way. My mom always made sure we had HBO, even though I was raised poor. So I kind of get you, and it's crazy that I'm considered a right-winger, or that Rogan is, or that Elon is, and these people.
Anybody, I'm sorry, but anybody who is a Trumper, it's a different mindset that, you know, he'd have to be extremely different to get me over there.
Right.
And he knows that. You know, he knew that when he invited me, and he knew it when I left.
Do you think he's farther right than Kamala is left?
Well, that's such a hard question to answer because we have to establish where those goalposts are. Do I think there's insanity on the left? Yes, that's why the far left hates me because, you know, as I always say to those far left people, you know, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost.
Yep.
It's just that I won't get on the crazy train with you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on the short bus to Nuttown.
Yeah.
That's just not where I'm ever going to go. So when you went there, I wasn't going to go along. And by the way, it's a comedic.
You support them because they'll help shape your party's future. And Democrats do the exact same thing. So let's not act like it's some great scandal. Meanwhile, everyday Americans are dealing with tariffs, and Trump is being treated unfairly by the justice system. Yet, Hunter Biden? Practically every one of his violations over the last decade has been ignored. Justice matters, so let's not pretend it's only one-sided. And when Trump's home was raided despite cooperating, that's hypocrisy. Be quiet with the fake outrage.
Places where you can buy his shit, it's just beyond, and that's just the corruption part. And then there's the political part. Now, you know, tariffs. We'll see how that goes. At least it's a actual political philosophy, which is not unique. There are many people in the past who have said globalization is, and in many ways it has gone too far, and it did fuck a lot of workers. I mean, the difference is it also helped a lot. There's no $9 jeans at Walmart. Unless the people are making them in Vietnam, okay? If you bring those jobs back here to America, the jeans will be $35 again. Okay, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
But at least it's a normal debate, tariff. So, you know, I don't first of all, I don't hate at all. I mean, that's my big theme. I'm tired of...
America wouldn't survive without adaptation. So what do you do when Trump says we need manufacturing back? You turn to automation, something China has mastered. You don't sew your own clothes anymore. Robots do it. People pretend it's about virtue, about making sure kids aren't working in sweatshops. But in reality, it's about taking advantage of tech. The same people who say, go back in time, are now saying, you can't buy cheap jeans because no one makes them cheap anymore. But I can pay a robot, even if it costs hundreds of thousands, and it'll work for free, needing nothing. Technology has advanced, and governments must develop it, or they'll keep falling into unethical practices. That's supposed to be the left's message, yet they mess it up constantly.
I don't want people to hate each other. So there are things that he's done that, and I told him, and I said it in the piece I did about it, that I do like. I mean, should Europe pay more for defense? Of course they should.
Yeah.
And was the border out of control? Absolutely.
Yes.
And should the capital have been moved to Jerusalem? Yes. I see he did something this week I liked. He said he's going to put an end to gain of function research.
Yeah.
That's the kind of research that
Jesus.
probably led to the virus getting out of the lab in
Yeah.
Wuhan.
No doubt. Yeah.
So it's not like it. I take everything on a case by case
Yeah.
basis, but the disappearing of people, a lot of this stuff, the ignoring of the judges, Doge was a disaster. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just way too insane and too far out there. And again, talking about a third term, this stuff is just intolerable.
I think he's goofing around when he talks. I
Yeah,
think
it's a freaking joke.
he knows how to joke a
Well,
little
that was
bit.
my editorial 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, once it starts out as a joke, and it's not a joke.
Finally, he admitted he's not going to do it. But the night I was there, he actually brought it up to me. He said, I know how you feel, so we don't need to debate it. And I replied, absolutely not. There's no wiggle room. And that's why they were mad at me. Because I was honest about how he can be reasonable in private, but if you called him out at a press conference, he'd flip out like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They're angry because I exposed the reality. Not to attack, but to be truthful. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.